Hey, everybody, off the top rope, off the Mike Sports Network here. So everybody thinks that I hate on AEW, but I've got to call it like I see it, and I got to be fair here on this show. WWE SmackDown has not been good, and this has been a trend that has been going on since they went to 3 hours at the start of the year. This has not been good. This show from Bologna, Italy, was not a great show, aside from a couple of things like Naomi getting involved in the Liv Morgan, and Liv Morgan quietly's had a really nice like little stretch here from being the women's champion and now being a women's tag team champion. She actually gets a win over Jade Cargill, which was a surprise, but it was by interference, so that was a little bit of a shock. And then obviously the CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns segment to close the show. You had Randy Orton making his match official with Kevin Owens, but a lot of this stuff just felt like filler, and there's pieces of the show are missing. Where's Andrade? Where are some of these other pieces that we thought the third hour would benefit? And we're going into WrestleMania, and there's like three big matches, and I'll talk about this on another video. This WrestleMania build does not feel great. It reminds me of WrestleMania 31 10 years ago when Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar was the main event, the heist of the century with Seth Rollins, and it ended up being one of the great WrestleManias of all time. It feels like WWE is kind of coasting right now. But SmackDown, like Raw, since going to Netflix, has still felt big, even with some of the stuff that's come through that's kind of been mid. Like that Madison Square Garden show that they had a couple weeks ago, outside of the cage match between Punk and Rollins, it wasn't a very good show. It felt very lackluster and very maybe Raw is feeling like at least bigger and kind of fresher because it's 2.5 hours. SmackDown has to go 3, but these shows have dragged. I mean, Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu was fine, but it's just like you're throwing a bunch of mid matches. And then on top of it, you've got Zelina Vega getting new music that nobody recognized. They're changing the Street Profits music, so everybody's getting Def Rebelled. So that's another thing. But yeah, it's just like you can't go through a 3 hour show and really have one outstanding segment. Like there was some good stuff on this show, but this show was boring. And if I'm going to say the same thing about AEW Dynamite, I've got to call it like I see it. SmackDown is not a good television product right now. I would argue it's the worst television show in WWE right now. I would take NXT over this show. I would take NXT over the show. Raw is still the superior brand because it's got the huge contract with Netflix. It's got all this stuff in it. But it's become a regular occurrence where this show just does not deliver. It just feels like a lot of things are just there. They're just like, going through the motions. And, the biggest feuds really aren't hitting. Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton, I have no idea what that interview segment was. Because Charlotte just took Tiffany to school. They did not make Tiffany look good in that segment. I don't know whose idea that was, but that was bad. A lot of people are going to point to Road Dogg, Brian James, being the head writer. Road Dogg has been, like, he's obviously really tight with Triple H. They go back to the days of DX, but pretty much ever since his name was implicated as being the head writer of the show, this show has not been good. So maybe that's an issue, and maybe that's something that Triple H needs to get to. But still, guys, it's March 21st as we're recording this. And technically, I'm recording this at about 10 o'clock at night on Friday night. So for all you people who are going to be consuming this, it's going to be Saturday. So it's March 22nd, depending on where you are. And if you're watching it later on, this does not feel like WrestleMania season outside of a couple things. And I'm watching this show, aside from that crowd, if this were in like a random town, like Little Rock, Arkansas, or something like that, or some random town like in North, normally when they go on the road to WrestleMania, they don't do these European tours. It's the first time they're doing it, and it was a genius idea to do this. But if this show, ask yourself this: if this show was in front of a random town, like I said, like Little Rock, Arkansas, or something else, like Corpus Christi, Texas, or something like that, if it was there, this show would be getting next to no reaction. And that's the biggest problem that I have with this. You have got to feel bigger, and you have got to have bigger and better segments outside of the obvious ones. Because really, and like I said, I will talk about this in another video about this WrestleMania build. Aside from maybe 2 or 3 matches, this show feels really like there's a couple of mid-card things that I'm a little bit interested in. But the 3 top matches, which are pretty obvious. Cena, Cody, the women's triple threat, which is going to be Rhea, Bianca, and Io, and then Rock, not Rock, Roman, Seth, and Roman, Seth, and Punk. Like those are the three matches really on my dance card that I think that are the best, and they've been built the best. Everything else has been like whatever. So my message to WWE and my message to WWE fans or apologists or whatever, because some people think I'm a WWE apologist. We have to be better. And you have to be better. And if you're endorsing this shit, like okay, that means you really love WWE. But I've got to call it like I see it, and just my personal opinion, they could be a whole hell of a lot better. And it's almost like, hey, we don't care. AEW kind of sucks, and we're just kind of window dressing, and we've sold a lot of tickets. We're as hot as we've ever been. We can kind of get away with it because of these hot crowds. Don't take it that way. Make some good content. More shows like the Raw after Elimination Chamber, which was one of the best television shows that I've seen this year in the last handful of months. Guys, it's WrestleMania season. Make it feel like it. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.